Hello, everybody, and welcome to Encounter Roleplay. My name is Will, and today we are back, and we are doing a couple of origin stories today in our journey into Middle-earth. We're going through a journey through time, back to the beginning of time, and back to the beginning of these guys' stories. Seeing as we're a couple of players down, often the dilemma that one comes across is when a couple of players are down. Do you just not fucking play D&D? No, my friends. No, you do not. You never stop playing D&D. Instead, what you do is you go and you do some origin stories. So we're going to learn about how Arvalan and how Hardwin kind of came to be, how they came to be heroes today, and what kind of forged them in fire to be the people that they are today. So let's go around and meet our cast and crew, figure out who we are and who we're playing. And let's start with Mike. How's it going, Mike?
If you can't tell, my voice is going because I had 4 hardcore days of Gen Con,
Hardcore.
sleeping until 3 a.m. and waking back up and rocking back out at 10 o'clock in the morning. It was a rough time.
Wow.
But apparently, Will, everyone loves you there, so there's that.
Apparently everyone loves me. Well, what can I say? I am a D&D sex icon, Mike.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So I will be reprising my role, I think, as Arvalan, son of Avalor. He is a Dunedain ranger. That's about it.
Okay, cool. We also have Hardwin Josh with us today, playing Hardwin. How's it going, Josh?
Yeah, it's going good. I have not spent the last 4 days playing D&D non-stop. Actually, no, I've spent the last 3 days playing D&D, and I didn't even go to a convention. See, Mike, we don't need to go out to a specific. Some of us just do it because we love it. Some of us aren't sellouts like you.
Wow.
Oh, I didn't play D&D once. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Exactly, typical Mike.
You disgust me. So we're here tonight to not play D&D.
Yes. Fantastic. So talk to us about Hardwin.
Hardwin his name is Hardwin, son of Herwin, and Herwin is his father, and Hardwin is Herwin's son. And that's pretty much all you need to know, because I just absolutely nailed that introduction. Hardwin is a Gondorian man. He is a fighter, born and bred, raised by his father to have a very different set of morals and opinions and sort of view of the outside world, outside the realms of men. Then, it's been odd. Like he doesn't really fit in with the rest of the realms of men's opinions of, good. Give me a second.
Yes, I do. I would love to use the bathroom immediately, please. Live on stream.
Me too. I'm gonna bring my webcam with
Can we do it together, Mike? Do you think?
Yeah. We'll cross the streams.
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah.
Yeah. See what I did there?
The golden streams.
I love it.
Josh, you were talking about something, but
I was, but I think we've all realised that wasn't the most interesting thing that just happened.
That's true.
So basically, he's got some interesting opinions of the realms of elves and dwarves. He sees them as quite valuable. They're different culture, and he's interested to learn more. Unlike a lot of his own people who very much shun the outside world. And that's kind of left him being a bit of an outcast in his own land, despite the fact he's sworn to the Steward of Gondor. He's been ousted, sort of unofficially, sent away to a place where he can cause no harm, straight into an Encounter roleplay stream, and nothing of harm ever happened in the Encounter roleplay stream. We'll all be fine. Just relax, chill.
Chill, we'll be fine.
I swear.
Exactly. And thank you so much to Mike Fro for them 5 months, my friend. I appreciate it. Get some drinks and chat there for Mike. There we go, boys. Holy shit. Yeah, what if instead of flushing, you had to use a Beyblade? These are all the questions that other people are too afraid to ask, but we here in Encounter Roleplay, we're asking the tough-hitting questions. So we're going to be going back in time a little bit to be learning about Hardwin and Arvalan. and how they came to be. But before we dive into the game, I'll remind you guys of how to interact with today's show. As per usual, if you haven't followed, you can follow at 20. In fact, no, we're well out left. 60 followers. Hey, you guys get to decide what happens next in the game in a viewer decision. Also, here is a tweet for you guys, and of course, you can donate to affect the game. You can give players net 1s, net 20s, wild magic surges, and you can check out our sponsors for this week, Dice Geeks, who have a new module, Realms of Understreet, on Drive for RPG and on Amazon that you can check out there. I understand, Mike. You take a break, my friend. You watch some D&D. Good for the soul. So, I believe we're going back. Oh, yes, you're playing Herwin today, right, Josh? A little bit more confusingly. So you're not playing Hard One, I'll change that.
It's cool.
Okay. You guys have such similar names.
I know. It's almost as if we're related in some way.
Very odd. Very odd. So, Herwin, talk to me about...
No, I'm Josh. Herwin's a character.
Oh, this is very confusing.
Just go back to the Beyblades.
I'm just, Beyblades is...
On the big screen.
That's the stuff I know. Stick to what I know. So Herwin, talk to me about your life, I suppose, up until this point, 30 years ago or so in the past.
So Herwin is Herwin's getting on. Herwin is not a young man. He's he's only in sort of his late 20s, but in this world, that's pretty old. That's getting on some. And Herwin has been a fighter for pretty much his whole life. I started at the bottom. Now he's here. He started at the bottom. Now the whole of Gondor, is riding. So Herwin is.
He dies, right?
Yeah, he. Love you, bud. Herwin is sort of like this a military-minded commander, but he's also always been very fascinated with sort of tales of old, specifically tales of the old kingdoms of men, back when Gondor was part of a larger kingdom and actually had a king sitting on the throne.
Yes.
And it's very much not appreciated in his day and age, or indeed in Hardwin's day and age. So he is trying to Denethor. That bad Denethor. He's trying to sort of find his place where he can balance sort of his loyalty to his people and his deep interest in the outside world. So we're going to see where that gets him.
Yeah.
Like father, like son, this might go terribly wrong.
I agree. And Arvalan, talk to us a little bit about where you are in life at this point, as one of the Dunedain gifted with long life.
Yeah, so at this point, Arvalon is still with his father, Avalor, and they were tasked with protecting and watching over the Mirkwood by one elderly gray wizard.
Yeah.
Basically what happened was, so Gandalf had come and he had figured some things out when he found Thrain in the Mirkwood, and he went back, took this back to the White Council. They said, no, it couldn't be a necromancer or Sauron or anything crazy like that. Don't worry about it. Gandalf had other plans, so he sent a Dunedain, he sent Arvalor to go watch the Mirkwood and keep an eye on things and report back and see what happened. And he took his son Arvalon with him to just maintain and see what was going on there in case, he should fall in battle, his son can take up the stead.
Okay, so let's start with Arvalan. Deep in the Mirkwood, about 30 years ago, you and your father, who is also a ranger like yourself, and has basically raised you and taught you everything that you know, how to hunt, how to fight, and how to think as well, how to, I suppose, make judgments about people and events in the world, because Gandalf has gone against the White Council, which is a venerable group, to say the least. And so it could seem difficult to challenge that, but Arvalor is with Gandalf in this, in believing that there is a greater shadow out there, and he's raised you as such. How old is Arvalan at this point?
I think he's in his 40s.
40s, okay. So, kind of midlife, I suppose, for a Dunedain. So you've got a lodge, essentially, like a fairly well sort of like hidden lodge out in the Mirkwood in a relatively safe area. But you know that there is darkness out in the Mirkwood, and your father today intends for the two of you to go out on a kind of scouting trip, essentially. So, to describe your father, he's older than you, and obviously, as fathers tend to be, and kind of graying and slowing down in terms of how fit he is, I suppose. And it's you who's taking on the mantle here. But yeah, he this morning he's like, Arvelan, my boy, do you mind getting my bow down for me?
Yes, of course. Here, let me help you. And he just sort of scurries down. I assume this lodge is very small. It's not there's nothing elaborate. It's just enough for 2 hunters to live in.
Exactly.
Very there's not even a little farm there. There's just dried meat hanging from the ceiling, some herbs, and outside the front door, or just inside the front door rather, is where the bows are strung. And he grabs that, begins to grab the string and actually pull it taut over it and bring it to his father.
Okay. Yeah, he has trouble with his back these days, and reaching up to get the bow, which is a little bit sort of sad to see, I suppose, seeing as, you've known him to be a great fighter and warrior in his time. And he says, thank you. Well, we should head out, I suppose, and see what we can find. After all, the Grey Wizard will be looking for our report in the coming days.
Of course. What have we found? Is there anything we're looking for this time?
I did notice a growing shadow in the eastern part of this forest, not far from here. I think we should give that a better look at, perhaps.
Not more spiders, I hope.
No, this was something different, something older. It seemed ancient, and we should do some investigating of it. The spiders Yes, if you would. The spiders themselves seem to shy away from the area.
Yeah, so he'll make sure that he has everything that he needs to go out, and that everything is sort of organized for his father to put on in his own timely fashion before he begins to scout easterly. And he'll just kind of go out and then loop back, and then go out and loop back, and go out and loop back.
Yeah. You head out into the Mirkwood, and these trails here are familiar to you. You've walked them most of your life, having grown up here. The trail leads to the east that you follow, and you don't spot any spiders round. You do spot a couple of bits of wildlife. This part of the forest is not particularly infested with the shadow. And so you live in a it's almost like a normal woods, almost. But as you head towards the east, you do sense the darkness growing in around you, and you sense that same foulness which your father had mentioned before. The trees grow darker, the canopy comes in. There is a strange, creeping, growing mold on the trees. And even the spider webs that sometimes hang around these parts of the Mirkwood are not present, presumably because the spiders are perhaps even too afraid to go here.
Now, is this a mold that I've seen before?
Why don't you roll me a nature check?
Okay. Keeping it alive, guys.
Nice. Is that...
That's two nat ones.
Good God. So, even from a young age, Arvelan was a failure, it seemed. Mm-hmm. So you recognize it, but you can't remember what it is. Your father is a better herbalist than you, and would probably be able to identify it a little bit better.
Okay. There's a reason why into his 40s he's still ranging with his father.
Right.
He's not...
Hasn't moved out yet.
He's not overconfident. His father knows what he raised.
He hasn't moved out.
Yeah, so he sort of takes note and looks at the trees, and the trees that have the most corrupted moss and mold on them, he follows those specifically. Okay.
So yeah, you follow the patches of mold that seem to be particularly present and egregious, I suppose. And you come out into a clearing, where the mold grows particularly thick, even under your feet. And you see that in the center of this place, there is a statue. A cracked stone statue, which looks like it's been here for a very long time. It's almost as if the mold has been spewing forth from it. It looks like it kind of converges back onto the statue itself. And it's a statue of an ancient looking man from a ancestry which you don't recognize.
Now, is there anything else around this statue, or is it just a strange statue in the middle of a forest?
It is basically a strange statue in the middle of the forest.
Yeah, Arvalon would kind of look around and see if his father has caught up to him. And judging by the state of things, he would say he hasn't.
Yeah.
And so he just cautiously approaches the statue, trying to avoid stepping in as much of the mold as possible.
Yeah. So yeah, you head up to it, and this moss and mold is it has kind of like spores. It seems like when you step on them, they seem to be like releasing into the air. It makes you kind of cough and splutter a little bit. And you see the statue is of some kind of king, you think, although it has been fairly well worn away to be almost indistinguishable. And you're, a couple of feet away from it at this point. Your father's not in sight, but you don't expect him to be at this point.
And it looks like the mold, this is the point where the mold generates.
It is, yeah.
So ever curious under the safety blanket of his father's protection, he sort of steps closer and closer to this thing, and he's trying to identify who this king might be, or at least what race this thing might be.
Yeah. So you think it might be a man of Numenor, although it's very difficult to say, and it is a little bit oddly placed for you. But then again, these ancient statues may have been all scattered across the world and sort of left behind. But it certainly has a kind of a well of shadow. The closer you get, you can feel its eminence radiating off it.
Right. So Arvalon would have had at least some teachings from his father.
Yeah.
May not be formal education, but he knows enough to know that the Numenorians were like the first men, and that's where he's descended from, and that's why they must keep it a secret, because the Numenorians some of them went pretty crazy bad with that stuff. So judging the fact that this has shadow corruption all over it, he approaches cautiously all the way up to this thing, and I think he's going to look for some kind of symbol of who this could be. Most of the Numenorians had some kind of, like, the ones of legend, the ones that would denote a statue, as far as he knows, would have some kind of marking. They'd have some kind of title, or like a special symbol or sword, so he's going to try to find out something that denotes this apart from just a regular Numenorian. Yeah,
you see that there is on his lapel almost, there is like a rose which has been carved in there.
Is this lapel easy to make out, or is it this like covered under moss and all that kind of stuff?
It's covered in moss. You'd have to like brush it away to really get a good look at it.
I think he reaches down to his boot dagger, and he sort of pulls his boot dagger out and begins carving the moss off of the rose to get a better look at whatever the symbol is.
Yeah, you do so, and you kind of move this moss away with your knife, and you kind of touch the symbol of the rose as you do so, and you feel a flash in your mind, and a almost overwhelming, like, concussive effect, as though you've been hit by like a flash grenade or something like that. And this white flash goes across your eyes, and you see an image of a ancient being, and you sense that you're far, far away from here, and it's frozen underneath a frozen block of ice. You see this gigantic creature which has many, many tentacles on it, but appears to be frozen solid and silent, and you hear the whispers of your mind that it wants to be released, and it wants to be freed. And it's in the west. And this just kind of goes over your mind for what seems like hours. But as you kind of stumble out from it, you realize that it can't have been anything more than a few minutes as your father's on the scene. And he's just, Avalan! And he kind of rushes over towards you. And you're on your back at this point.
Yeah, I assume he kind of has his boot dagger in his hand, and he never unslung his bow, so he's kind of like laying uncomfortably on his bow, surrounded by all this moss. And he looks up and he says, It called to me from the west. It wants us to go there.
What do you mean, boy?
I'm not sure. This statue seems to be what causes this mold. I think it might be a Numenorian. I don't recognize the symbol. And he points to the rose, and he says, "But I tried to get a better look, and I was granted visions of the past or the future. I'm not sure, but it was a monstrous creature, tentacles, frozen. And it felt a desire to be free, and I got a strange presence from the west. I think whatever it is, it's calling to me."
Calling to you? That doesn't sound good. None of this sounds good. This place is foul with the shadow. And these spores... they're in our lungs now. Do you know how far west it was? Anything at all?
No, I just get a dread feeling of west.
See, then... Well, that is good to know, I suppose, but we could report that to the Grey Wizard. Or it seems like something far beyond either of us.
But have you heard of this? What kind of creature is this? Besides, I know of the Watcher, but what other creature has massive tentacles like this?
I know not. There are things of this world as old as the Watcher in the water, or older still. Perhaps it's something like that, but I don't know. We would have to seek out one far more wise than us, and Gandalf, he might know. But whatever it is has infected
this place. He's just pushing himself up to his father's height. He's kneeling on the ground at this point.
Whatever it is has infected this place. The statue here has been tainted by its corruption. This is a Numenorian.
I assumed as much.
Great king or prince, perhaps.
You know this symbol, and he sort of brushes more of the mold off.
Yeah, he looks at it, and you see your father's face kind of... He looks quite worried. I do. It's of Sigurd the Lost. But, so strange that we should run across it.
Why is it strange?
Never mind. Just odd that it would be out here. You can roll an insight check on that one if you like.
Sure. 18.
Yeah, your father's definitely hiding something from you there.
Says I've never heard of a Numenorian named Sigurd the Lost. What is his title for? What is he known for?
I believe he was lost on a quest to defeat an ancient evil.
Well, perhaps this would help us then.
Perhaps so, but we must find a way to cleanse this area first.
Now, how does the mold look all over the statue? Is it just
it's kind of like grown. It's kind of grown over it, yeah, like eating it almost.
Yeah. So he looks at me. It can't be as simple as removing this corrupt mold, could it?
No, I think the mold, when it's removed, it releases the spores that get into one's lungs.
Yes. Well, I've done more than breathe in a few spores.
Likewise.
I rolled in some. And he begins brushing the spores off of his jerkin.
Yeah, he says, perhaps we should return to the lodge and come up with some tincture or potion to cleanse this place.
Yes. I'll ready the kettle. Are you able to move on your own?
Oh yes, I'll be fine. Don't worry about me.
I'll move ahead. And he sort of leaves his father alone and moves back towards the the lodge.
Okay. So you head back to the lodge and you put the kettle on. How English. And set ready to create a potion or tincture, as you mentioned, to try and cleanse the area. You head back fairly swiftly, and you know your father's a bit slower than you. However, it's been about 15 minutes, and your father hasn't returned.
Well, he knows it took him quite a bit of time to actually get out there.
Yeah.
So he's kind of going through the herbs that are hanging from the ceiling, a few of the herbs that are growing in the boxes in the house, trying to find ones that could fight the shadow. And usually his father is the better herbalist, and he does the majority of this. So he's trying to kind of get a jump on it, or at least get all of the herbs in a row. So I think Arvalon would probably lose track of time for a little bit.
Okay.
Trying to make sure that his father could come in and just go right to making this tincture.
Yeah, absolutely. So a fair amount of time passes, and then you kind of come out of your reverie having read up on some of this, and you think you've got like an idea of how to collect a couple of herbs that would just cleanse away the sort of mold without too much exposure to yourselves, and you realize that your father still hasn't returned.
Yeah, he begins to like pace back and forth in the lodge, trying to figure out if he should wait here or go find him. And he's kind of muttering back and forth to himself, where could he have gone? The spiders don't go that way.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing was danger. I scouted the path both directions, until finally he decides that it's been too long, and he grabs his cloak, he grabs his bow, strings it, and then begins to head out in the direction towards the statue.
Yeah. So you do so. You head back out along the path, searching for your father to see if he's maybe gone off the trail and perhaps gotten lost. So that seems next to impossible because he knows his paths better than anyone else. You don't spot any spiders around, so it can't be that. And you head back into the clearing at last, and you see that your father is kind of bent over on the ground, on his knees, essentially. And he's kind of looks like he's fallen, essentially, and kind of fall onto his hands if you just kind of fell over. And he seems to be coughing up, and these spores seem to be all around him. And you also see that his eyes don't have any pupils to them.
I think he completely throws caution to the wind at this point, and he just races. Spores popping up all around him as he's stomping on these wet leaves or these dry leaves, brush moving aside. And he throws his bow to the ground and picks his father up and he's shoulder carries, one arm over his shoulder, begins to lift him and hoist him to his feet.
Yeah, you hear your father is kind of rambling, and he's like, the west. We must go to the west.
No, I know. We have to get back first. We have to go. And he begins to sort of drag him back towards the hut, leaving his bow on the ground.
Yeah, you physically just kind of pull him along that same path back to your home in the lodge. We place him down in the bed, and his same deal. He seems to be coughing quite a lot, and it's a bit worrying because he's coughing up some blood from the spores with this kind of green sort of tinge to it as well, which you think might be from the spores themselves. And his mind seems elsewhere. It seems as though whatever thing was in that statue or spoke to you has spoken to him, and it's affected him in an even greater way.
Yeah, he sort of brings him back into the house. I assume there's some kind of a chair. He puts him in a chair where the fire is, where the kettle's on, and he begins putting the herbs that he gathered into this kettle to make this tincture, this almost tea. I assume it's something that you make this tea and you pour it on a cloth and you hold the cloth to your face and it stops the spores from breathing in.
Yeah.
So he begins to make this tea, and once it's done steeping, he sort of pours it into a cup and starts pouring it down his father's throat.
Yeah. He, it kind of you can tell it burns a bit as it goes down, and you hear him go splutter, as you're trying to basically just cleanse the spores out from his body. Essentially, is what it seems like. And
he pours tea, and then when he splutters it up, he starts brushing the spores off of him, and then waits and pours more tea, and then repeats the process.
Yeah, you see him basically begin to kind of retch and throw up, and he kind of falls back after a fair amount of spewing up spores, and he's kind of lying down. The west. Let's go to the west.
What did you see? Did you touch the statue?
And he's to the west. Statue. Yes. West. We must find aid.
Who would you have me call?
I need help. Healers. The men of Gondor. Yes. The White City.
The men of Gondor have never aided us before. Why now?
I have friends there. The west. Let's go there to the west. And he seems to kind of fade in and out of consciousness.
Yeah. So as like basically every time he like fades out of consciousness, Arvalon kind of like shakes him. He says, "You need to tell me more. Who in the city? Who in the White City can I call for? Which man of Gondor?"
Oh, Owen.
And then once he has the information from his father, I assume it doesn't get more detailed than that.
Yeah.
He begins to pen just this scrawl of a letter that looks frantic and hurried, not really addressed to anyone. And then it's signed with his father's name. It's signed with his father's name. Looking for a man named Herwin. And it says to meet. What's in the forest around us? Are there any locations like towns or any notable landmarks in the area?
Yeah. We'll say that there's like a well-known like glade nearby where there's a village.
Okay. Yeah. So he would have on that letter for Herwin to meet here at that glade, signed Arvalor.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna cut away from Arvalan and Arvalor, and go over to the White City. So, Herwin, remind us, it's been a little bit what you do and also what you look like, as you're the father of Hardwin.
Yeah, so Herwin's he's actually quite a, he looks quite gruff, but really he's quite good-natured and
Really, he's quite buff.
cheerful. Yeah, he's got a sort of graying hair that's sort of like, he's got a lot of stress on working for D&D5E. Unfortunately, it doesn't do you much good health-wise. He wears sort of the black uniform with the white tree, as depicted by a guard of the tower, and he's just sort of like rough, leathery skin, but like sort of those eyes, sort of grayish eyes that have a little sad happiness in, if that makes any sense at all. I don't know. I'm trying to describe. I have a very vivid image in my head of how it looks. I'm trying to sort of but I think he's the kind of guy who he's got a lot of laugh lines, which indicates that he actually spends a lot of his time smiling and joking around. But at this moment, maybe not so much. I imagine. I just get the feeling that this is not going to be fun for me. So it's Will. Why would it be fun?
Fine, you're just jaded from Turncloaks.
No.
All the origin stories are good.
And also, hold on, what was the other? Oh yeah, the Tomb of Annihilation. Yeah.
Yeah, that happened too. Hey, no spoilers, but anyway. Herwin, you work at the White City, and I suppose you work for its steward, Mr. D&D5E.
Mr. D&D5E. You hyped? I'm hyped.
Oh yeah. And how old is Hardwin at this point? Or is he?
Hardwin is pretty much just been born. This is going back quite some time. Unfortunately, we're not all doing a day, and we don't all get to look as fuck ugly as Mike for so long. Some of us age. He's just been born, and this is sort of a period in Herwin's life where he's going through a lot of changes. But it's not puberty. He's just become a father, which is weird.
Yes. Okay. So let's go with that first of all. with your wife.
Hmm.
Do you have a name for your wife, or are you finding me?
L'Oriella.
Loriella.
Loria.
Loria? Loria, okay.
I can't. Yeah,
Not
L'Oreal.
L'Oreal.
L'Oreal. She's worth it. Okay.
She is. Well.
She was worth it.
Okay, so we'll say that you have just gotten off your, duty on the wall for today, and you know that your son is being born. Well, yes, you probably don't know it's your son this day and age. So you know that your child.
We decided not to know. We
didn't want to know.
For the ultra.
Without a surprise.
Like, no, we want a surprise.
Yeah. So yes, you are coming off from your shift, and the guard with you is like, why don't you take off early, man? This is a big day for you.
Yes, I suppose it is. Looks sort of wistfully back at the wall, and he's like, "You sure I can't convince you to do your shift?" You sort of, I'm not really sure I'm ready for this.
Listen, the war will always be here. This is a once in a lifetime. You got this, man.
Yeah, right. Well, if I call for reinforcements,
the guard will answer.
Fantastic. He sort of loiters for a moment, sort of not really, and then probably gets sort of shoved a little, and it's like, right.
Yeah, the guy who's gonna push you off. He's eager to see you on your way. So you kind of rush down to your house, which I imagine is fairly nice. You've worked as a captain for a while, so you probably got a fairly nice house in the White City, in one of these sort of upper tiers.
Yeah. And
you bust into a scene of carnage, worse than any battlefield that you've ever been on. Your wife is there, and she's like screaming in pain, and the midwives are there as well. As you kind of walk in, she's just like screaming. Laura's just like, ah! And the midwife is like, maybe you should wait outside for a minute, Captain.
Hoban's like half drawn his longsword. Like he's just, it's a reaction. You hear screaming and what sounds like violence.
Yeah.
He's a very jaded man. He spent a lot of time in the war, but he sort of shakes his head and just says, shouldn't I be here for this?
You can watch if you want.
I'm a guard. Maybe I should stand guard. He sort of chooses his moment to escape and backsaddle a room.
Yeah. So, you wait outside for a while until the kind of screaming ends, and you hear a baby's, scream, cry.
Okay, right. He sort of... That's... my child, right. Okay. Straightens himself out and sort of throws open the doors and marches in, ready to face this.
Yeah. So the Rhea's there, and bundled in her arms is a tiny little baby boy.
Is it a boy or...
It's a beautiful boy.
Right.
We have a son.
Yeah. Can I hold him?
Of course, yes.
He sort of like goes to, and then realizes he's sort of still in armor and starts to like take these gauntlets off.
Yeah.
Like pretty much trying to like tear his hands out, and then finally just sort of very carefully, as only sort of a first-time dad could possibly, picks him up like this baby might explode at any second, and just terrified and shaking, more fear than before any battle he's ever been in, but feels very protective, and suddenly there's this wave of a very strict sort of almost this priority comes over him, and he realizes that actually this is the most important duty he's probably ever going to take. With no disrespect to Denethor, he has a son, and suddenly he has his son held very close against him and is just beaming from ear to ear.
Yeah, Laria is smiling as well. What should we call him?
I had an idea, but
Yeah?
It's stupid. But I didn't want to name him after my father, who did very little with his life. But my grandfather, he was a heroic man. He served with honor. Herwin.
Our name.
Hot. that moment, that beautiful moment. Yeah. I think we should call him Herwin as well. Just rewrite. We'll go back. We'll re-record over all of the previous episodes and change my name to Herwin. Because my father decrees it.
I think we should name him after my granddad, Owen. He was a great guy, this Owen.
I am also named after, obviously.
I love that.
It's
Nola's great guy. We should name him after.
I didn't want to name him after my father. I wanted to name him after my grandfather, Herwin. And my grandfather was Herwin, and my father was Herwin. We're all named Herwin.
I love you, Herwin. He's just looking at
The midwife Herwin looks over. That's okay, Herwin. Oh,
just never know. You yeah. He takes he takes him in his arms and Hardwin.
What's that?
Sorry. I just looked at Mike.
Hardwin, I love it. It's perfect.
Should I fetch something? He sort of looks to the midwife who's done everything, but he has no idea. Sort of like, what do you need?
No, nothing at all. We're fine here.
Okay, I can have someone bring water or food or anything you need. Just
relax. Everything's fine.
And I know, of course. I have a son, and he brings over a chair to his wife's bedside and sits and just smiles, sort of looking at his son.
There's a very nice moment where you sit with him and Laria, and then there's a knock on the door. There's a kind of dong dong dong. You should probably get that. It's probably family.
Right, of course. You best take him just in case. And he sort of hands over his son and pinches his cheek and begins to sort of like put his gauntlets back on, and then just fuck it, heads over to the door, and who goes there?
You open the door and you see that it's the watch, the city guard, and the guard captain says, "You're requested, the steward. See you on some urgent business."
Now.
I'm afraid so.
Surely he knows that.
He said the matter could not wait.
He sort of looks awkwardly back at his wife, pretty pissed off.
Yeah, her face has kind of fallen as well.
Yeah, and he just says, "Did he say what this matter was? was so urgent?
Just that it was of utmost importance and urgency. Yeah, how these things are. Sorry, mate.
And here I thought you might be bringing us something to celebrate. Here's for wishful thinking. I need to sort out my uniform before I present myself to the steward.
He nods.
And he probably a little rudely closes the door in this man's face. And goes back to his wife's side and looks down on his son and just says, I'm sorry. It won't take long, I'm sure. You need rest anyway, and then
I know, yes. But today of all days.
I know. He is an impatient man, and like it or not, he puts food on the table, which is important, more now so than ever, he says as he starts to slip into his gauntlets. And whatever it is, I'll be in and out. And then we'll have something special tonight for the three of us.
Okay. Well, come back soon.
Fucking hate when Will says that in a origin story.
I'll
just never
see
trust him.
you soon. Yes, leave the house.
I love you. I draw my sword and I prepare.
Leave the line of sight.
My wife could only be a demon now. I kill her
as
immediately.
as you turn your back, she spawns into a demon. Yeah. So yeah, presumably you put on your.
I just look into my.
Good.
Yeah, I get dressed. I bend down. I look into Hardwin's eyes as they burn with the orange and gold that could only be Sauron.
Yep.
And I smile to myself,
And you say.
and I leave the room.
You say hello,
I had
Herwin.
great expectation. Hello.
Hello, little
Oh,
Herwin.
you have arisen again. Yes, and
Okay.
yeah, and he kisses his son goodbye, and he heads out, sort of forming up with the guard, I presume.
Yeah,
is
they're
it-
gonna march you up there, I suppose. An escort, yeah. More for ritual than anything else, really.
Yeah, I know.
So you go to the.
I hope so. I wasn't being betrayed right here, right now. But
Yeah. There you go. And yes, Mike Rooney, this is Adventures in Middle-earth by Cubicle 7, but the campaign itself is homebrew and written by Shaboy Will. Yeah, so you head up to the top of the White Tower, and you're let into the kind of inner sanctum, I suppose, past the White Tree, and you meet with Denethor, who's seated in his on his white throne, and the captain's kind of bows towards you and leaves you to speak with him.
he bows low again, sort of dropping to one knee, waits to be told to rise,
Yes, you are given the hand signal to rise.
and he stands and says, "My lord, you called for me?"
Yes, a matter of great importance has arisen.
I see.
I have received word. It was intended for you. Tell me, what do you know of
Intended
the...
for me.
Indeed, what do you know of the rangers from the north? What dealings do you have with Gandalf the Grey?
A wizard. None. I know not why he would seek me out by name. And the Rangers, well, I know little of them. I know they are not welcome in these lands.
A ranger. has sought out your help. One whom we believe to be working with Gandalf.
Why would a ranger from a foreign land seek out someone like myself?
I was hoping you could tell me.
I don't know, my lord.
Well,
Is it your will that I meet with them?
It is. Your presence has been requested by this ranger, and if we are to learn more of the trickery of the rangers and of Gandalf's plans, then it seems only fitting that you should investigate. Man's name is Avalor. He is in the forest of Mirkwood.
In Mirkwood? That's... my lord, my wife has only minutes ago given birth to my son. I can't possibly travel to Mirkwood. She needs me.
Your duty bids it. Would you deny me? That's your wife.
I'm okay, thank you. And that's how Josh fell the second time. If you want to find out how Josh fell the first time, exclamation point.
There's a massacre in Colchester tonight. We'll know why.
Yeah.
So he says, "Would you deny me? Would you forsake your vow?"
Surely there is someone else that could carry out this task. My lord, I am old. That is a long way to travel, and I have a son now that I need to care for.
And yet you are asked for by name. Your son will be given appropriate compensation and will want for nothing.
This is an order.
It is.
He sort of grates his teeth and smiles a very hollow smile at the steward. Then it appears I have no choice but to seek out this sorcerer and find whatever it is that he wants and report back to you.
Very good. Thank you, Owen. That is all.
Before I leave,
Mm-hmm.
may I see the message?
He retrieves the letter and hands it to you.
He takes it, backhands P farts, and questions me. Fucking, why do you keep this fool around then for? And he checks the seal. What is it? Seal of a ranger, or is it seal from like a? Would I even know?
I mean, that's Arvalan, really. Would you have sealed it with anything, I guess, Arvalan?
No, there would be no denotation on it. It's just like a scrawled written message on like a rolled up piece of paper, like parchment with a wax seal on it, but no actual sigil in the wax.
Yeah, so even back then, no style. So he breaks the seal.
No class.
Oh yeah, actually no. I guess it'd be broken already because this dickhead's been reading.
He has
my
opened
mail.
your mail.
God,
Yeah.
I hate that. I literally despise him, but I wanted that +1 to AC. So, goddamn.
That's exactly what Boromir said, man. Look where that got him.
That +1 to AC really didn't help. Yeah, and he sort of looks at the the message. What does it read? I guess.
Mike, do you want to read it?
Sure, I'll read it.
Or just, you know,
yeah. So I'll
paraphrase.
summarize what it says,
Yeah.
but it's written very hastily, like someone's trying to get a message out fast, as if in like a panic or fearful. You can kind of tell that by the way the writing is. It's not clear. You kind of have to reread some of the words to really make them out. But it basically just says, it addresses you by name, Herwin. Your assistance is required at, and the Glade, signed, Arvalon. Oh, sorry, Arvalor. That's it. Something very simple and to the point.
Okay. So useless.
Yeah, completely useless. Yeah.
Wonderful.
To be fair, I think my dad's dying, so.
Oh, that's okay. You know, it's not like I have family or anything. Don't worry about it. Don't sweat it.
Yeah, your kid has so many years to live. My dad's dying. That's the difference.
Yeah, difference is I care about my son. So he sort of eyes it with curiosity and has no fucking idea who Arvalor is, and I guess heads towards the doors to leave and try and explain this to his wife.
Yeah, this one's gonna be a toughie. So you return down to your house, and you kind of come back in. It's later by the time you get back down to your sort of part of the city, and your wife is up and sitting in bed with Hardwin.
He comes in, dour face, but forces a smile and heads over. And how is he?
Oh, he's fine. Finally managed to get him to go to sleep.
He's big.
He's a baby.
He's going to be a fighter. I can tell. Strong. That's good.
Not too much fighting, I hope.
No, but strong enough to look after the likes of you. I wish I could ask that of him now. For I have news.
Really, what news? What did he want?
You know, we mustn't speak of him like that. He is our lord, after all.
In my own home, I'll speak about him however I want to.
And that's exactly why I married you.
Well, what did he want then?
It's not what he wants. Well, it is, but it's complicated.
It always is.
No, this time it's different. There is a wizard, Gandalf the Grey, I believe they know him as, and a ranger. They have asked for me by name. They've asked to meet with me.
Sounds strange. We don't get many rangers from the north around here.
And we're not going to.
You mean?
I've been ordered to travel and meet with them.
How far afield?
As far as Mirkwood.
Mirkwood?
I know.
That's not even this side of the Misty Mountains.
I know. I argued it with Denethor, but his mind is made up. Would that he would send someone else, but whoever this ranger is, he knows of my name somehow.
He can't just make you leave, not now.
I wish that I could stay. But you know how the steward is. and I worry I won't be able to continue as captain of the guard forever. To anger him would be to push him towards ideas I would like to keep from his mind. Ideas like replacing me and taking away all that we've grown to know.
But when do you leave?
The sooner I'm gone, the sooner I return.
He looks very kind of crestfallen and upset.
Yeah.
On today of all days.
I know. My sweet, I know. And he sort of rests his forehead against hers and looks down at his son, sleeping, and I need you to be strong for me. Both of you.
We even know if when you'll return.
I am simply tasked with meeting with this ranger and maybe the wizard. And then I report back my findings to our lord, the steward.
Seems like a fool's errand. The Mirkwood, it's not safe.
He smiles and just says, the tales that they tell young children are tales of fear and make-believe. It's just a wood. Elves and fairy folk tales. Nothing more. I'll be safe. I promise.
Make sure that you are.
Aren't I always?
You leave straight away?
I'll wait out the night.
He nods. And the next morning, you set out. And your wife is there with your newborn child, Hardwin, kind of out the door as you are set with your, adventuring pack and gear, presumably with your, shield slung over your back as well.
Mm.
She says, don't be gone long.
I have my orders. He winks.
He smiles sadly and kind of, gives you the boy.
He takes me
And then she
in his
runs.
arms. She goes and drinks an entire cask of wine. God, I've missed this. He takes his son in his hands and holds him up, almost as if he's inspecting a piece of kit.
Mm.
Handed to him by one of his soldiers, one of his guards. But he nods sternly but appreciatively. Says, "You're going to be strong, just like your grandfather. And you're going to be man of the house one day. So, there's a couple of things you need to know. Your mother is always right. And you should always fear her more than any road or any enemy, for she has a wicked temper. I'll see you soon, son." He kisses his son and hands him back.
Yeah. She gives you a big hug and kiss as you are on your way. And you leave behind the White City and travel far from these lands. And not long before you are out of sight of the White City itself, the crowning jewel of the land, and on more unwholesome roads once again, somewhat more less hospitable, I suppose, and unfriendly. And Hoenn makes a long travel from Minas Tirith to this area of the Mirkwood which Arvalor, Darvalan are living in. And you are kind of searching around this glade, I suppose, that you come to in the Mirkwood, having travelled for most likely what is months. And weary, road-beaten and tired, you finally make it to your destination. So Arvalin, would you be waiting there all the time, or would you be sort of, at a certain time each day coming to see if anyone's there? Because presumably you're treating your father with this tea.
Yeah, he would have to make trips back and forth. He would be treating his father with tea, making sure he keeps the tea down, making sure he has all of his like fluids and food, like he's eating, because he is not really sure what the heck state he's in. But he would go every day, probably several times a day, depending on how far this glade was, to the glade and circle the outer rim of the glade, just seeing if anyone new has appeared or anyone is here at all or signs of a person. So upon seeing this Herwin, he would be doing the lap of the glade, and he would eye this guy, basically just trying to get a measure of who this person is and why his father would risk whatever's happening. The fact that he has to wait several months for a man of Gondor to show up is crazy to him in his father's current state. So he wants to see what makes this guy so special, what is so unique about this regular Gondorian. And he just like kind of paces around the outer edge, like inside the forest side of this glade, just looking suspiciously at this Herwin fellow.
Okay. I guess Herwin, you're just kind of looking about to see if anyone's in the area.
So after a minute of seeing that he's basically some mundane guy, he just sort of steps out, and basically like brusquely walks up to him and says, "Who are you, Herwin? What do you stand for? Why does my father know you? Why does he send for you?" And you can tell he's like very accusatory, like as if my father's current state is your fault in some way.
He sort of puts a hand out, extended, sort of like a greeting to Arvalan, completely ignoring sort of like the aggression and hostility. Just says, "You know my name. So,
Yes.
What else has your father told you of me?"
That is it. He said we needed the aid of a Gondorian. He said your name specifically, Herwin. Get Herwin.
And he never mentioned me before.
No.
Right. Does he still live?
Just barely.
Take me to him.
He kind of just sort of turns him like aggressively, like he grabs him by like the arm and sort of yanks him in a direction, and then quickly takes off, assuming this guy can follow, and just sort of peeks back every once in a while as he's moving quickly through the trees.
Okay. So yeah, you sort of turn back around and head back up the same path to the lodge, where your father has been, ailing, I suppose, and the two of you head up the lodge, and you enter into the abode, which kind of smells quite sickly because of the tea and the illness. And you see this man here with no kind of pupils in his eyes. It looks like he's been wasting away.
Yeah, he looks to him and says, "This is my father. This is Avalor. He's the one that requested your aid."
He smiles and sort of crouches down and kneels beside him. Just, Avalor.
A kind of confused Avalor kind of looks up and is like, "Who's there? Who's there? The West?"
No. Herwin. Herwin Junior, it's been a very, very long time.
Junior.
I'm
Ah,
afraid my grandfather passed many, many years ago.
he seems confused. My friend. He has passed.
I'm afraid so. But I still remember your visits. Maybe you don't recall me. I was but a boy. But I remember your quiet visits to the White City, searching for knowledge. Knowledge hidden away by my people.
He kind of nods. I remember you too. Grandfather is a good man. I am sad to hear of his passing.
I'm afraid my father as well. It has been a long time, old friend. But
He nods. I suppose it has. Perhaps now is my time.
why send for him? Or me? Whichever one you meant to answer the summons. Why would you waste your time waiting for me to arrive? You need help. More help than a man of Gondor can give you.
He was a loyal man. A good one, and more so than for my life. I wanted someone for my son.
And the whole time this conversation is going on, Arvalon is just busying himself around the place. You can see he's like walking agitatedly and like very like in the same manner he walked up to Herwin. He's grabbing like aggressively grabbing the herbs and ripping them off the vine, and he's trying to make this tea and he's trying to move things around, and he's just trying to keep himself occupied.
Yeah.
And he just seems like this whole thing was a waste of time because this isn't even the right person.
Yeah. And he says, you see, my life, I feel it waning from me. And I knew that, well, no healer could cure this shadow. I needed a good man, someone who could see my son did not same darkness, could see him to the right path.
And you thought you would see that man come from the White City. Maybe old age has finally got to you.
And I think before Arvalor can answer, Arvalon like presses another glass of tea to his lips. And he says, "My father speaks in riddles. His brain is addled. We found something in the woods. We found something that has made him this way. He was not this way before. But a few months prior to you arriving here," and he's talking like sporadically. He says, "What he says is not true. He's not dying. He's fine. No, shut up. He's fine. We need to heal him. We need to go west.
West?
West. There's something. There was a statue. Sigurd the Lost. There was something to the west. Something was frozen in ice. It called to both of us. It's in the west. It needs to be free. This will save him."
You are speaking in riddles. Your father is old. Even for your kind. And I know it is hard to hear. But even the men of the Dunedain are not immortal like elves. Time will still take effect.
No, you don't understand. There was
Arvalon.
a mold and a spore, and he breathed it in. He's sick. He's not dying. He's sick.
Okay. Okay, then take me to it.
To the west, or, and you can
To
tell like
this
he didn't
statue.
expect to get this far.
Yeah, to the statue.
Okay. And he finishes like pouring the last tea, and then he like puts a blanket up on his father and sort of gets him all comfortable. He says, "It's this way. I haven't been back since we found it."
Can we ride a horse there? I have mine outside.
Do I have access to a horse, Will?
Sure.
Yeah, you can ride my horse as well. It's
Yeah.
Then do yourself a favor. Do us both a favor. Make sure we have plenty of provisions and any of this tea, whatever it is, pack the saddlebags and pack them full. Whatever this is, we need to be careful. Do you understand?
Yes. I'm sorry. Here, take this, and he hands you like basically a bandana, like something to put over your face.
Yeah.
He says, the tea works for my father because he ingested it. I think this will prevent that. And he begins grabbing as many of the herbs and spices off the rack of the roof and taking that and packing that.
And as he leaves, Herwin crouches by Arvalor. Is it time?
He kind of nods silently.
And he sort of pats the man over, looking for his knife. And
I have a hunting knife on him.
He draws it, checks the blade over, checks that it is sharp, and he places it sort of flat on his chest, and pulls the blanket sort of over, covering it so it can't be seen. Places his hand against the handle of the knife and just says, "Let him say goodbye. I know it's not the same, but he'll need that at least. And I'll do what I can for him."
Thank you. I know I made the right decision.
This vision he speaks of, this calling in the West.
Yes.
Do you believe him?
I do, but following it can open the more darkness. You must not live that life.
Sooner or later, someone has to face that darkness. You knew that as well as I did. That's why you spent all those years squirreling away all the knowledge you could. That's why Gandalf placed us where he did. You know our duties. You know what we were tasked with. It's not been an easy road for any of us. And it's not the life we wanted. But maybe it is time.
Perhaps you are right. Whilst the White City may have fallen from grace, there is still hope left there. There is still goodness in men.
And yet men grow old. And he smiles and puts a comforting hand on his shoulder.
Yeah, he smiles and says, "Give me a moment with the boy."
Of course. And he stands and gives the man a very protracted salute, clasping his fist against his chest. It was an honor. And he turns sharply and marches out. And finds Arvelan outside, sort of frantically stuffing stuff into saddlebags with no real order or just in chaos. And he comes up and just grabs him sort of quite firmly and turns him around and just says, "Listen to me. Your father, he needs to speak with you. And you need to make the most of this. Where we go is dangerous. If it has done this to him, we don't know if we will return. This may be your only chance to say goodbye. This could be the end for both of us. You understand?"
He swallows hard, expecting you to have told him that his father's dying again. But when saying it's we might be the ones that die, he kind of swallows and acknowledges what you're saying and says, "Yes, if this could have done what it did to a warrior like him, I can't imagine what it would do to you and I. Please finish packing the horse. I'll be back."
Right.
And he turns and starts to walk away.
All right, so you head into the hut, and your father's lying there on the bed. Oh, good.
Yeah, he approaches him immediately and says, he like kind of grabs him like around the wrist, and he says, "This Herwin, I'm going to take him. I'm going to take him to the statue. We'll find out what causes this blight. We'll find out what it is. We'll stop it. We'll find a cure, and the three of us will venture west. We'll find out what this calling is. We'll find out what this Sigurd the Lost is, what it means."
You will do all of those things. I know it. You will succeed where I could not.
All right, no, we will do those things.
You and Owen.
And you.
No, my boy. Not I. Not this time. For these are my last hours. I sense it coming. The end draws near, but I do not fear. I am content knowing that you will continue my work. That you are a good man.
He just kind of sits there quietly, sort of processing everything that's happening. And without a word, he walks out of the hut. He looks to Herwin, he says, "Let's go. We have to be quick about this." And he mounts his horse.
And Herwin mounts up, and he doesn't look back as he rides.
And Arvelan sort of not sporadically, like it's a very hectic path. Like he went a straight path to this place, but he's moving as quick as possible. He's dodging trees. He's on a mission, and he's just hoping that Herwin can keep up.
And you realize you're on my horse.
Oh, I thought we had two horses.
No.
Sorry. Yeah, so then that happens.
Owen can easily catch up.
Yeah, he just takes your horse and leaves.
Everywhere you turn, he seems to be right behind you.
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing.
We sort of rush, and I guess sort of you direct me because it's my fucking horse.
Yep.
And never ride and be emotional, kids. It's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
So
Then drink and ride too. Good idea. So you want to head back to the statue, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so you come back and you see that your horse is trampling all these spores underfoot as you're heading towards that area, and it seems to be, it seems to have gotten sort of a little worse since last Arvelan was here. The shadow has grown stronger.
He does the same thing. He puts the bandana up, he has like a wine flask or a water skin. He pours it on there. He kind of shows Herwin, and then he puts it on. And yeah, I guess it's up to Herwin if they slow down, but he continues pointing you forward towards the statue.
Herwin rides the horse like hard, hell for leather, and he's to where, like the outskirts wherever the statue is, and he'll jump off. And Herwin will take a torch from his pack and light it with some flint, and he's gonna sort of wave it round to see if it sort of seems to burn away some of the spores. Just on a guess, it's sort of that would be my go-to of thinking it'll probably help. It's not going to be very effective, but it will help some.
Yeah.
And yeah, crouching quite low, sort of try not to disturb too much, to knock more spores into the air. He'll make his way forward, sort of bringing Arvalan along. Where? What? Talk to me.
He looks around and he sees what I assume is now like a large mound of this statue covered
very
in
much so, yeah.
And he notices because there's nothing around it, and he doesn't take the delicate care that Herwin's trying to take, and he just sort of marches through this this mold and this strange spores.
In which case, Herwin grabs him by the sort of like firmly by the arm, and sort of brings him to a stop, and just says, "Your father is counting on you. Whether he lives or dies, know that. So being reckless and getting yourself killed is not the way to honor him. We do this, and we do this right. You understand?"
And you can see it's like he's being yelled at like a petulant child, and he just sort of like lets the seething rage Yes, that statue there, and he points to it. That's where we saw this vision.
He looks you up and down and just says, "Your kind, the Rangers, the Dunedain. You know of your heritage. Your father must have told you."
Yes.
Then I very much doubt that this will work for me. Which means that I might be able to clear away more of it. My guess would be that it would be tied to the blood of Numenor. Your blood. I'll do what I can to clear some of it away. It's stone. I should probably be able to burn it, but that will kick up fumes. So we have to do this carefully. We have to stay low. We have to hold our breath. You understand?
Yes.
And very carefully, Herwin is going to sort of like make his way over, and he's going to draw his sword and try and sort of part, sort of clear a space so he can literally lie on his stomach, nice and low. And right by the stone, and he's going to sort of lay down and probably sort of press his shield down so he's got something to lie on, and hold the torch up as high as he can, and starting at the top of this stone, begin to sort of burn away the spores and the mold as best he can, sort of keeping as low as possible so all the fumes and the spores and all the nasty shit doesn't get to him.
Okay. So, you begin to burn away the kind of mold and moss, leaving it like a clear area on a statue for Arvalan to kind of reach to, I suppose.
And sort of having cleared some more, he just looks up at Arvalan and sort of like holds up a hand to signal like, don't just grab it, don't do anything rash, and stands and says, "What do you know of this place? What is this place?"
I know nothing. But this symbol here, and he points to like the now cleared rose. This is my father told me this belongs to Sigurd the Lost. That was all he told me. I knew he was holding something back, but he doesn't want to tell you something, he won't tell it to you.
He nods and reaches into a pack, his traveler's pack, and he pulls out some parchment and some charcoal, and he sighs and just says, "I don't have much, and I was supposed to write home to my wife. Don't use all of it, or we're both going to die. Believe me, she's not someone you want to anger. But place it over the stone where the carving is. Pull a rubbing. We need to take this symbol. We need to find out more about it. Go now, be quick. And if you feel anything at all, you let me know immediately." And Erwin draws his sword and looks very sternly at Arvalor as he reaches down and lifts this shield up and flexes, and you can see that he's preparing for a fight. Whether or not there's a lot of mysticism about this place, and there's more to fear in the woods than there is just spores and stone.
Absolutely. So yeah, you begin to you step up, and Arvalan and Herwin can both roll me wisdom saving throws.
Yay.
Is this versus darkness or shadow, rather?
Exactly. Yeah, it is.
He says, making a very strange noise. What's my father's wisdom? Not bad. Oh, Jesus. Oh, that's a con save, dude.
Oops. Well, it's still nat 20, I guess.
Oh. Damn it. I guess it is a 20.
I guess we'll let him have it.
Sorry, it'd be a 23 instead of 25. My bad.
Daddy, please.
So, oh yeah. So Herwin is kind of filled with these visions as well, and he sees this creature frozen in the lake. As Arvalan goes up, gets the rubbing of the kind of rose and pulls it away, and you notice that Herwin is like about to kind of fall into the spores, which you know is not going to be a good idea for him.
So we've clearly seen that Arvalan never learned the lesson not to be headstrong and just run in.
Right.
So he takes the rubbing, and then he sees that Herwin's sort of starting to go down, much like he did. And he just charges for him and grabs him before he falls into it, and sort of rights him back up and shakes him. Says, "What did you see?"
Herwin straight up cuts you, just a little bit, but like he draws his sword, sort of like really wide-eyed, sweat on, draws a little blood from your arm, and I saw a lake, a beast,
With tentacles.
something that slumbers, something that must not awaken. We must go. We must return to the hut now. Do you have the rubbing?
Yes. And he sort of hands it to you.
He takes it and stares at it for a long moment, and then looks down and sees a slight drop of blood running down his sword, and looks back to Arvalan. We need to get that seen to. Here, these spores. We need to clean the wound. We need to leave now. And he sheaths his sword and turns back to his horse, which is probably not liking this area at all.
No, indeed. It's kind of whinnying and feels very uncomfortable around here, and seems to be very happy to be getting away as you guys sort of, begin to step out. ride back to the lodge, and you see that the door is closed before you as you guys return with this little rubbing for Gandalf. Sounds a little odd, really.
Yeah, and he jumps off the horse and sort of looks around to check to see if anything is wrong. He's very twitchy at the moment, and he's gonna move forward, open the hut door, and he's gonna make sure he gets there first before Arvalan, just in case it's gruesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You step in, and you see that with the kind of hunting knife that you gave to Arvalan, his father has. To Avalor, his father has ended his own life before it became unbearable.
So Arvalon would have hopped off the horse and torn, like I assume he got cut on like his forearm. He would have torn the sleeve off and began like pouring the tincture over his arm and then wrapped his sleeve up onto the wound. And that's what would have distracted him for long enough for you to get in there. But he does come in shortly after you. What would you be doing?
Herwin is just sort of knelt by your father and has closed his eyes and is just going to cover. I'm going to presume he's either stabbed himself in the heart or slit his own throat.
Yeah, the heart.
Yeah, the heart. And he can't, it's clear because the blood is soaked through the cover, the blankets that we've given him, but I'm going to sort of quickly take the blade out and place it down by his side in his hand and close his eyes. And that's all he has time to do before you step in.
Arvalon walks in and sees what's happening. And he's smart enough to know that it wasn't you, but he comes at you and basically he grabs Herwin by the shoulders and spins him towards the door and is forcing you out of the house, like forcing you back to your horse. Just, you can see that he's like maddened and sort of a little crazed about what's happening, and he's aggressively just shoving you and grabbing you and forcing you out of the house.
Herwin is going to straight up, he's an old guy, but Herwin is going to hip throw you onto the floor and pin you there and just hold you down, because I'm afraid I can't actually just fuck off.
He says, what do you want me? What else do you want me to do? What?
I don't want you to do a damn thing. It's what your father wanted. No, it's not. It's not what he wanted. It's not what he wanted for you, and it's not what he wanted for himself. And it's not what I wanted, and it's not what my wife wanted. All of this. You need to meet somebody. And he is a long, long journey away. And you need to speak with him. And he needs to explain some very important things to you. There's much you don't know. Your father risked his life. Nay, he gave his life, as we all did. He has paid the price because he is one of those who watches over the world. This is hard for me to explain. Harder still, because I know what this means. This means more time away from my newborn son and my wife, who need me now more than ever. But this is bigger than any family, any one man. It is the fate of our world. It's time we go and meet a wizard.
And that is where we'll wrap up Herwin and Arvalan's little origin story there. That was nice. That was nice. I liked that. That was fun. I liked Arveland's like learning more about Arveland's origin story, about why he is the way he is. And I liked the connection between Hardwin and Herwin, which, you know, is reasonable why Hardwin has no prior knowledge about this, because, you know, why would he really, because he's just born. But yeah, that was nice, and some nice little tie-ins, yeah, for future stuff to play with as well. I enjoyed that a lot.